everybody. Justin Henderson here with Fetonomics. It's our 14th episode. I want to say thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me today. It's going to be a shorter episode than normal. We're not having a guest. We all know that we're all kind of ready to bug out for the holiday weekend, me included. The title of today is Quiet Quitting. You may notice the new shirt. It's it's a new term, but it's just a new way of talking about disengaged employees and just really the rebalance of the economy. But as usual, what we want to do first before we get into that topic is really break down the jobs report that came out at 8:30 this morning. So we'll jump into the PowerPoint first. We'll get those numbers up to really look at it. What's really been interesting is if you look at the percentages of unemployment, veteran unemployment hit 2.4% last month. That's a record. That's only happened one other time in recorded history, and that was also this year. So when you think about, there's just under about 9 million veterans in the U.S. workforce. So if you extrapolate that to 2.4%, you're looking at about 207,000 veterans. It's really about 8.9 million out there. And then if you look at the national average, as we went from 2.7 down to 2.4, national average went from 3.5 up to 3.7. So there's still about 5.7. It says 5.5 there, but if you look at some of the other part-time work, we're kind of up to 6 million people looking for work part-time as well as full-time. So it's interesting. My theory is, the veterans, we help our community when it needs us, be it foreign or domestic. And as we're going through these hardships through the last 2.5 years, we really stepped up and helped. Next slide, please. I want to walk through kind of what I saw. So we had 315,000 new jobs created. It was 5 million. We have 6 million unemployed when you put all the part-time, everything else. It was about 5 million in 2020. What's really interesting is we went from 303,000 unemployed veterans a year ago to 207. So again, we are getting jobs. Companies are looking for us. I can tell you for my 16 years of doing this and helping companies build veteran recruiting strategies and identify the right military experience to target, that I've never heard so many more open conversations about how to get them in. It used to be, hey, where do we find the person that has military experience that goes right into what we do? Hey, somebody that was a machinist mate that works on pumps and valves and seals, hey, we work on pumps and valves and seals, bring that person over. Now they're going, hey, we really believe in the DNA of a veteran. Hey, those intangible skill sets, what they call soft skills, what I call human skills. And that bar has been risen so high on that value that they are looking at ways just to, hey, how do we find that cornerstone skill set of that veteran that we can build on? So wanted to touch base real quick. I've just got an IM that nobody can see me. I'm going to stop my camera and pop it back on and see if anything happens. Apologize for this. I'm going to keep going. What we say in the Marine Corps, adapt and overcome, right? So hopefully you can hear me, maybe not be able to see me. But as far as it goes, I'm just going to run through some things real quick. Labor force participation rate, 62.4%. We're about a point down from 2020. And that's really that marginalized workforce. It's about 1.4 million citizens that were in some type of industry, some type of job that now is really not relevant. Maybe it doesn't pay compared to inflation, other costs that came with them, and they just can't find that job. And really where we're at is corporate America is trying to figure out what to do with that. Now we have, what's really interesting is we had 6.4 million hires last month with 5.9 million separations. Now the separations can be laid off, fired, or quit. What's really interesting is 4.2 million people quit. It goes back to the quiet quitting and kind of what everybody's trying to do. I've got some interesting stats down the road here I'll share with you. We have 11.2 million job openings, still 5.5 million, up to 6 million citizens looking for work. Average hourly rate continues to increase for non-farm payroll. It's up another 10 cents to $32.36. And production, $27.68. So if you're working in manufacturing, you're not in a leadership role, $27.68 is the average. And that has been a year-over-year increase for 5.2%. So it's just continuing to grow. Now, I know inflation is eating away at those raises. We hit that 9.1% inflation rate. The Fed's meeting on the 20th and 21st to discuss the next interest rate hike. What we're seeing here, it's really interesting to kind of like Scully and New York, and the plane loses its engines. You're trying to turn off the engines to get the inflation to go down and then turn them right back on before it slams into the water. So we're really in a hard spot with the Fed of trying to figure out that right moment to squeeze. Next slide, please. I do want to talk about one other thing too, is if you're in a job search right now, especially in the last July and August, and you felt like, hey, I'm not getting the feedback I think from companies, I'm not hearing back from companies in a timely manner. This summer was the highest PTO on recorded history. Everybody took time off. I think they called it revenge travel at one point. So really good time there. And again, I don't know if anybody can see me yet, but as far as the presentation, I have the August numbers up of what industry we saw. And what we're seeing now is professional business service continue to work and hire, but of course, education was at the top as everybody's going back to school, teachers, support, admin, all that were added. What's really interesting though, that manufacturing was stuck for about 2 months. And you can see that they actually got some good hiring here too, which is really good because that's what's coming in. The CHIPS Act that was just passed is bringing more manufacturing in the United States. You're going to see a ton of manufacturing come back here. So it's really interesting to see that they're able to get that. Also, retail trade was up significantly. Again, we're all just going outdoors. We're buying stuff outdoors instead off Amazon. Instead of buying off our phone, we're going in person, meeting people and buying things there. Next slide, please. And I put in here again, can my team let me know if we're on camera yet? Put in here that apprenticeships continue to grow and demonstrate strong growth. We had a 64% growth in new apprentices since 2012. That number dipped in 2020, of course, because of COVID. And then it came up in 2021, and it's going to go up north. And why did I put this in here? Right, manufacturing is coming back. In the early 90s, was it, or late 80s, 37% of all semiconductor manufacturing was done in the United States. That's in the teens now. And we see what's happening in Ukraine. We see what's starting to happen in Taiwan. We have to bring that manufacturing back here for national security reasons. And that's why that bill was passed. And that's why next year, those companies, start now. They've been hiring all year, but they're going to have the funds to increase those wages to go grab that top talent no matter where it is. So if you're in limbo right now, deciding what to do, hey, I'm in my first semester of college, I'm in my second year of college, it just isn't for me. Where you're transitioning out of the military, like I did the Marine Corps as a truck driver, and knew I didn't want to drive trucks. It's not for me. I want to do something else. I'm a talker, as you could see. So I would have jumped on something like this because within a year to 2 years of an apprenticeship, I could tell you're getting out the door making $60,000 to $80,000 with a very minimal debt. And if you're in that point where you're trying to, maybe you're 1.3, that part of 1.3 million that just can't, no matter where you apply, nobody sees a value in your experience. This is the best place to go. Invest in yourself, get a trade, because it's going to be needed dramatically over the next 2 decades. Next, please. And also want to show this, the labor force share by age group projected 2030. You're seeing as education continues to grow, those people like me that got jobs as soon as they were allowed, 16 years old working in a restaurant, that's not happening as much anymore, unless economically it's demanded. And you're seeing that shift of that younger group just going right into education, continuing education, moving forward. And you're seeing the older, that 55 to 64-year-old, going to take more and more of the workload. For me, what I see about this is that, if you're in that point of entering the market, you really want to be introspective. That's what we do really well, is helping those transitioning veterans understand really what makes them tick and what's going to make them happy when they get out and go to the next place. Because that shift out of uniform, having a very impactful mission and a strong team, you lose that when you come out, and you really have to be careful when you get into that first civilian role, that you're understanding really what makes you happy, not just chasing that almighty dollar. Because I've seen that yellow and purple crowd, right? I've seen them chase the dollar, not have the patience to set up a career. And I say that because so many people in the United States, across the world, have jobs. They don't have full careers. And you have to have patience to build a career. On that front end, when you're transitioning out, please spend time not just looking at money and location. They're important, but look inside. What's going to make you tick? What made you join the military? What made you enjoy it? And what's going to drive you to be successful and happy moving forward? Next slide, please. So here it is. What is quiet quitting, right? What we're going to talk about. And I've talked about it a little bit, but it's not a new concept. It's just employee disengagement. And, it's not surprising what we've gone through COVID. I'm blessed enough to have gone remote in 2018, and we worked through all those issues of engagement in a really regular marketplace. So we here were very lucky. But I know a lot of organizations, a lot of humans, right, just didn't have the space to have an home office, and they had to create that. So here's by the numbers. I took this from Microsoft's Work Trend Index this year. 53% of workers are more likely to prioritize health over work. My story personally, last year I was a sales manager here, managing a group of salespeople, and I moved myself to a salesperson's role, specifically to spend more time with my kids. I have a 10, a 7, and a 6-year-old. And I wanted to have those years now and not regret it 10 years from now. 52% of Gen Z and Millennials are considering changing roles. The average is 43. And again, that's not unheard of. That's not beyond normal that the younger populace is going to be looking for that right job and bounce around a little bit. Again, those Gen Z Millennials, if you're listening, look internally, figure out really what makes you tick and what makes you happy, and then have the patience when you hit that job to really settle into it. Don't do 6 months and go, I'm out, because you haven't really settled into the environment, the ecosystem of that company, and really understood if it's right for you. Here's a really interesting stat. 74% of supervisors want to implement change, but don't have the resources. Again, corporate America is trying to pivot, but remember, corporations move much slower than the individual ones, right? A fire team can move faster than a squad can move faster than a platoon, boom, 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 boom. Another one is 54% of leadership is out of touch with employees. So you have some that are really trying to help. Those true leaders are like, I am servant leader. I see and sense your pain and I'm trying to help. The other 54 are sitting in their corporate office running reports. Hey, everything looks good. 81% say are productive or more productive compared to a year ago. I am one of that 81%. I have found ways to create asynchronous communication and remote work. And I've just found more ways to balance my day. 55% of hybrid workers feel lonelier at work. 50% of remote workers feel this way. Hey, if you work from home at all, somebody's done this for 4 years, you have to create a home ecosystem, meaning find people in your community that also do remote work. Have coffee in the morning with them. Have lunch in the afternoon. I have a Tuesday lunch date with my neighbor every Tuesday. We both work from home on Tuesdays. Really find some way to make that human personal connection. Another way, if you don't have that capability, is leverage your internal communications. Teams, video call your internal people. Make that eye-to-eye connection. It really does help. It really does make a difference in your brain. 56% of hybrid workers have fewer work friendships. Same thing. I understand that completely. It just really has to be intentional in your communications. So if you're here feeling that way and you're remote and you're going, hey, I just don't feel like I'm connected to people, don't pick up the phone, pick up the camera and have a video call with those people, and you'll find that you will make that connection better. 43% of business leaders say relationship building activities are the greatest challenge. Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do when you have people spread all over the country? For us, what we've done is we've done a lot of virtual hangouts, be it bingo or costume parties or whatever. We found some pretty cool ways to have fun. And then also just giving swag bags. It's been really cool too. We've really enjoyed that. So thanks, boss. 43% of business leaders say relationship building activities are the greatest challenge. We just talked about that. 62% of business leaders are concerned that new employees aren't getting enough support. 100%. Be it in office or remote, the in office, it's just really hard when you're working with such a deficit of human talent in your organization and you're trying to bring in the right people and get them set up while still doing more with less. A lot of, again, automated training is good to a point, but again, they need that human to human. One of the articles I read about remote work right now is so much of their onboarding and training has been automated, asynchronous. The person just sits down for 3 or 4 days watching these things and has no idea about the culture, the company. They just feel lost. So, if that's what your onboarding is, it's just a bunch of somebody sitting in front of a computer for 3 days, know that they are going to come out of that really having a bad feeling about the culture. 56% of pandemic hires are considering changing employers. Yeah, that's, again, when you look at the numbers, leisure and hospitality is growing, but we had a large chunk, 900,000 of those people that left and are now in other industries. I was a restaurant person before coming here. I managed a restaurant. So those people are trying to figure out where their skill set best match. Remember, they're very social. So they can't sit in a cubicle all day and not talk. So you're going to get that a lot more, and hopefully that will die down as everything levels out, but it's just a big economic shift. Next, please. Oh, let's go back one then. So I missed a couple things. One I want to talk about, right? Like some of this is just the scale shifting. Some of this is the employers had the high ground for 20 years, and now the employees have it. And you're starting to see that through union participation is up. There was just a Gallup poll, and it was the highest interest in unions in 40 years. So it's really interesting to see. And somebody who's worked with with companies that have union plants and non-union plants, I could tell you every time the union plant makes a lot more money, health benefits are better, PTO is better. You could tell them from Pittsburgh. So remember, if you're a hiring authority here and you're looking at military talent and trying to understand, hey, so what does all this mean to me? I could tell you what we're looking for. We're looking for a purpose. We're leaving an amazing purpose. We're looking for a culture. We're looking for transparency and leadership, right? We want to understand what your goals and aspirations are as a leader. One, so we can support those, but two, to make sure we're part of that. So again, veteran unemployment, 2.4%. It's the lowest it's been in recorded history. It's only happened twice. We have the quiet quitting, which is the disengaged employee. The majority of those people are that individual contributor that maybe is that quiet worker. That's something I would think, right? The high performers and the gripers get the most attention. It's the people just that are doing their job and could be doing 10, 20% more. Well, hey, they're fine. They're not upset. They're not screaming, hollering. Okay, we're good. Those could be the ones that need that conversation. We call it in here a timely talk, right? When you see there's a point of impact that you can make as a leader, you go have that timely talk with them and make sure they're okay. Especially now that we know so many people that are getting jobs in this economic environment, this pandemic, are also still looking. Hey, is this the right job? So that first couple weeks, that first couple months of a new hire is the most important you can get. Okay, well, anyways, again, I told you I wanted to keep this as short as possible. I know my last few episodes have been 45 minutes, 50 minutes with guests. I want to compact this and say, hey, here's what I'm seeing out of here. The economy's still booming. If you're a veteran looking for work, you're being hunted for your skill set, not just your technical skill set, but what's inside of you. So believe in yourself. Make sure you put that discipline, that human performance side of you in the forefront in your interviews, because companies are looking for that. And if you're an organization looking for military talent, I highly recommend that you look at your interview process, your job descriptions. Hey, these job descriptions, are they translatable outside of our industry? If somebody didn't have a legal degree, can they read it? Because it's usually in legal format. Two, if they've never worked in my industry, are they going to understand it? And if you get those two, you're going to get a lot more veteran hires. I also talk about paragraph format job description, telling the story of the job helps a lot. And then if you're a veteran, really, really be introspective, right? Hey, what makes you tick? What makes you happy? So that when you're looking at those jobs, you can look at it. We all have the spreadsheet of cost of living for this job location, compensation, housing price, all that. And that's good. You need to know that. But remember, you're going to be working in that job 8 to 10 hours a day. You're going to be with those people that's in building 8 to 10 hours a day. They're your second family. You have to make sure you're looking at that as well. Okay. And I just want to make sure on the comments I didn't miss anything. But thank you all. Again, it's Justin Henderson with RecruitMilitary Vetonomics. Hope you enjoyed the shirt, and I hope you all have a great holiday weekend. Thank you so much for joining me.